Okay, in this video we are going to be talking a little bit about the login page and all the systems necessary to make it work. So the first thing we need to be able to log in is to be able to create users. So we need to add uh, usernames and passwords to our database. Okay, as you can see, this is a very simple form. I didn't even add any CSS to it. It's just one text input, one password input, and a submit button. Okay. Um, the magic here actually happens when we go to this users PHP. This file is going to be receiving the information from this form and adding it to the database. This has some tricky things. Let's take a look. You can see that most of the file, so this users PHP, is precisely the same as the ones we use to insert new posts to our database. But we have something new here. So first we are receiving as variables username and password that comes from the form, but then I'm doing this second step with the password. I'm using this PHP function called password hash. This function is going to receive this password here, this variable that came via post, and he's going to use this default hash, which is we can understand that as a way to scramble the data. So we receive a name, receive a string of characters, and it's going to modify this string in a unique manner to insert it into the database. Okay, as you saw in the slides, it's never smart to insert a password in your database directly. So if you ever forget your password to anything, and the website emails you the password as it is, it means that website's not very safe. Okay, so don't use any critical passwords in there, because anyone could have access to it if they hack into the database. And as you can see here, after that I'm just inserting these values into the database. It is an auto increment field. I'm going to be showing it to you in a second. And I'm binding the parameters, the username and the password, but pay attention that I don't bind my original password. I bind the hashed password. Okay? I'm going to show you inside phpMyAdmin what this looks like. So here we are inside phpMyAdmin, and I'm going to my blog database. As I told you to create in the slides, you have here now two tables. The second one called users. So when I click this table, I can see the values I have there. And you can see for the first two I just typed anything, and then this is my final one. For this one I just entered both username and password as tested. Again, not a good practice. Of course it's not a good practice, just a fast way to do it. But you can see here also what it did to test it. Okay, it is a really long string, and the most interesting thing is that you can't just get this string somewhere and reverse it. Okay, it's impossible to throw this in something and reverse it back to show test. That's the safest way to store a password, and that's how PHP works now in the best way. If you look online, you still can find some bad and old tutorials that are not going to use this strategy we used with the password hash function. Okay, but this is how you should always go about saving passwords inside PHP. Okay, so now that my password is stored in the database, we just need to check it in the login page. So this is my login file, and the HTML is pretty simple. I just made this one look a little bit better. So I have here an H1 which I formatted. I had some color, different font, and the form I added some background color. I mess around a little bit with the size of the buttons and inputs. So basically that's what we have so far. But this is nothing new. The interesting thing here is this little script that is going to check if the username and password exist in the database. So how does it work? So first of all, it's going to check if you have the username and password. So if it's only going to be running this script here if the user entered both username and password in the login page. Else, this one is not going to do anything. As a good practice, you could show them an alert. Okay, so you could have an else here and just echo an alert. Please enter the data. This is an extra in lesson 10 if you want to know how to do that, but I'm not going to enter into this right here. Okay, this file, it is a little bit different from the others we created, because we need to do a couple extra steps in our SQL, in our PDO SQL part here. How? So here, nothing new. We are getting the post, whatever the user sent as username and password, just transforming them into these two variables. Then what I'm doing is select everything from the database where username equals to username. This should be just 1 normally, and because of that I'm going to use these 2 lines here. So what I want is to execute the array that I retrieved from the database, and I want just the user. Okay, so let's start there as username. I'm going to be receiving this as an associative array, those ones with a name. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating this variable check result and saying that whatever I receive as a result from the query, I want you to transform that, so fetch this data as an associative array, and that's what it's doing. So what I will do next is use this function here. The function is called password verify, and because we used password hash to store the password in the database, this is the only way we can use to check if it works, if it is the right password or not. We're going to see in the next video how it works and how we use these sections here to control the user login or not.